The status of these programs in the SEC, we've talked about it recently in recent weeks and even before the season started because of the coaching instability. It has changed the face of these programs and where they stand so quickly. It seems like yesterday that Auburn was on the rails and Gus Malzahn, and they were coming to Baton Rouge, and Leonard Fournette was throwing guys off his back, and LSU looked primed to take on Alabama and challenge for the West. And that was like 2 years ago. Things have completely changed. Auburn has yet to prove anything, but they seem to be the one legitimate threat to Alabama, maybe outside of a Georgia clash with the Crimson Tide, but not even going to the Alabama end of the spectrum. Auburn's a pretty successful program, of course, long term, but even in the short term, they've got the roster in play to play on New Year's Day and finish with a pretty good season.
It's a balanced Auburn team, I think, is the best way to describe it. Kevin Steele, their defensive coordinator, was at LSU 2 seasons ago. He only spent 1 year in Baton Rouge and left for Auburn. His message never took with LSU players. They were pretty good on defense in 2015, but they weren't dominant. For whatever reason, it's worked at Auburn with Kevin Steele. That defensive front seven is fantastic. If they're susceptible anywhere, it's in the secondary, but their front seven at Auburn, despite losing Carl Lawson and Montrevious Adams to the NFL last year, is just awesome. And LSU may very well be facing or starting 3 true freshman offensive linemen. That's going to be a tough match for LSU to win. And then offensively, you're right about Auburn as well. I mean, they got a veteran offensive line, 3 really good running backs, and Jarrett Stidham over the last month seems to be – I mean, he's got PlayStation-like numbers when you look at quarterback efficiency rating and things like that, his completion percentage. He's not a dynamic runner, but he's a good enough complement to the dynamic running game for Auburn that they're just balanced. No, by the way, they've got Daniel Carlson, who's one of the best place kickers in the country. So Auburn is a very balanced team right now, and I think they will challenge Alabama. That Iron Bowl, I think Auburn won't lose again until the Iron Bowl, and they will challenge Alabama for the West.
We are going to find out so much about Auburn, though, this week. Not that LSU's ready to challenge from the standpoint of being what they've been in the past, but in terms of looking at Auburn and everything that you just outlined on the offensive side of the ball from a personnel standpoint, these are the 2 measurements we have. We have the Mercers and Ole Misses and Vandy's, or not Vandy. Who did they play?
They played Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Missouri.
There you go. And putting up the big numbers. And then we've got the one elite measurement of Clemson completely shutting them down, wrecking that offense to 6 points and 11 sacks. So LSU's not Clemson, not that they don't have Clemson-like talent, but they haven't put it together on defense. But they're good. They're good on defense. They just held, well, I guess that's not a good measurement, Florida to 16 points.
Florida's not a very good team. Their offense stinks. Their quarterback's no good. And they were without maybe their 4 most dynamic offensive playmakers. But that was a gut check win for LSU. But the thing about Auburn, Auburn has gotten right against bottom feeders in the SEC. It's proven Mississippi State's obviously not very good. They played with their hair on fire against LSU, and LSU was lazy, uninspired, and got punched in the mouth and never responded. But Missouri and Ole Miss are terrible also. But Auburn did to those bad teams what good teams do, and that's you put your thumb on them and you don't let them move. And Auburn was dynamic in those games. I think this is a really good Auburn team. And if you look back to the Clemson game, Auburn kept settling for field goals in the red zone inside the 10-yard line. Had they been able to convert in the red zone those 3s into 7s, then you're talking about a tie ball game in overtime, or maybe even an Auburn win on the road. It was their inability to score from inside the 10-yard line. But also, let's not forget that Auburn went on the road, their defense, and held Clemson 14 points. So that's as bold a statement, I think, as you can make this early in college football, is that Auburn defense going to Clemson and doing what they did to that Clemson offense early in the season. I think Auburn's defense is going to give anyone they play fits this year. But you're right in that it's going to be Auburn's offense. It's going to be their job in those marquee games to match the output of the defense.